We've hit that time again, folks, where a little familial inbreeding is all the rage. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood already did it. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Them Dragons is back, folks. House of the Dragon season 2 is finally here after a 2-year absence. I'm going to say this. I've realized that 2 years is a bit too long to come into a show and not have rewatched the previous season before. And there's just too much television going on right now that I was not able to do a rewatch of season 1 before this. But there's a lot of characters in this show, and a lot of characters that aged up in last season, aged up, and we didn't get to spend that much time with them in their newer version that we don't quite recognize them. Some have aged up even since that point, so it's kind of just like I don't. I have to have a cheat sheet next to me to kind of remember some of the secondary characters. The main ones, I know them. I got all of that. When you're dealing with the secondary characters, it is a lot expected of you to remember them with a 2-year gap. So hopefully, now that this show is popular, we can speed these seasons up so we don't have to have such a hard jump back into point, if you will. But here we go. This picks up right at the end of last season where One-Eyed Aemon kills Lucerys, Rhaenyra's middle child, and she basically asks them to go on to do separate jobs. She asked her one son, Lucerys, to go do one, and then Jacaerys to go do another one. And so we've all seen what happened to Lucerys, and so this sort of picks up. This episode begins with seeing what happened to the other son. He's at the House of Stark on the wall, and those Starks are tried and true. No matter what generation you're in, they have one goal, and one thing that they're trying to do: prepare for winter because it's coming. And so we're introduced to Lord Cregan Stark, who is saying that, hey, I am betrothed to Rhaenyra. Queen Rhaenyra is who I will go to, but I can't give you any type of army. Like I can't give you any type of military presence because winter is coming. And he's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, I'm not afraid of such and such. I'm afraid of death. That's what's coming. And we need to be prepared here to sort of be able to help you out. But we're 100% behind you. We're not giving you an army. While he is there, he gets a note that pretty much tells him that he needs to return as his brother is dead. Daemon wants to go on a vengeance tour ASAP. He wants to go kill someone on behalf of the loss of his nephew slash son immediately. But Rhaenys is there, sort of holding down the fort as Queen Rhaenyra has taken a leave. She is grieving, but she has not seen a body. She's just got the information, but she has not seen a body for her kid. So she wants to go on this search to kind of get closure for herself. While she's doing this, she is leaving her kingdom sort of without a queen. And Daemon's like, she's grieving. She's going off to be a mother, but failing to be a queen right now. And Rhaenys is like, you got to give her some time. If you that recall, I went through something similar when my heir, my child was killed. He knows this all too well, and I had to feel the pain until I actually got to hold or see my deceased heir. And so that's what Rhaenyra is searching for. And until she gets that, we're going to just kind of be in a holding pattern. So don't do anything until she returns. He said something slick like, I order you to ride with me. She's like, yeah, well, too bad you're not the king. So no matter what you say. Shout out to Rhaenys for still being about that business. We eventually do see a point where Rhaenyra does find the remains of her child. And so we pick up later in the episode where she's back. We then see a little bit of the rule that King Aegon is kind of doing. He has taken all of the softer traits of his father and used that as his sort of way to rule. He'd rather spoil his kid and rather be cordial and in good favor with the people of his kingdom than actually govern. And sometimes you have to be a little bit bust. You have to be a little bit hard nosed with your governing, and he is not. He doesn't really even want to do it. He has more concerns with those things. When the table is sort of set and they all have to sort of make decisions and rule, Lady Hightower, after getting her getting serviced, if you will, by Christian Cole, man, that boy switches like the wind. She is trying to insert her power in what she wants to be done, but Otto, her dad, is still kind of basically trumping all of that. And then Amon comes in there, even though he's sort of been told not to come around this table at all because they're in the predicament that they are in because of him. But Aegon says, I've asked for him to be here. He's my best sword. He's my best tactician. So I want him to be in the room. And so you have the two sons kind of openly ignoring and choosing not to listen to anything that Lady Hightower says. And they're more so just paying attention to what Otto is saying. He's the ear that they're actually listening to. And so she feels a little bit undermined in all of this when clearly Aegon himself is not in a position to actually rule. We see a whole situation where he's on the throne, having people come to him to ask for favors, and he's just granting them all. Like, I'm going to grant that. Sure, I'll grant that. You can have that. You want your sheep back? Cool. Screw our dragons. They don't need to eat. He's willing to just do everything. And Otto has to keep stepping in and be like, Lord, we shouldn't do that because of this. And so he's just not prepped at all to rule. And he's just very in over his head and has a soft heart that's going to very much change by the end of this episode. Anyway, he wants to be on the attack. He wants to take a dragon and kind of like go on the offense all the time, where Allison is kind of like, we need to keep a dragon here because Rhaenyra's going to attack, and we need to keep somebody here for when that point occurs. Because she feels that Rhaenyra's going to come in with the dragon, come in blazing. Not sort of in the secret way in which everything does happen in this episode. Allison talks to Otto and kind of like, I feel like you're undercutting me. Are we on the same side or are we not? And they both have their ideas. We need Queen Rhaenyra to take a knee and Aegon to be on the throne without any type of trouble coming his way, just to be at peace. And that's what they're going for. She's like, well, if that is the case, if we're on the same page, I need us to be sort of in lockstep because my sons right now don't respect me. They don't appreciate me. They don't understand me, and they're not listening to me because you are always there to sort of turn them in their own their own way. We need to be on the same page. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We should be doing that. And they come to agreement that like violence is going to be necessary, but it shouldn't be wanton. Well, Allison has that feeling. It feels like Otto's like, yeah, you're right. Kind of like, yeah, we'll revisit that once some things sort of go down. Daemon is handling some traders and kind of getting information about that when Rhaenyra returns back to the kingdom. And she's in a bad way. He whispers to her, did you find what you're looking for? She nods. And then they started sort of trying to debrief about what to do next. Rhaenys tells him, like, hey, my husband has got the ships and they're ready to sort of shut down any type of sea trade and all the sea paths and all of the stuff. And Rhaenyra's like, I want Aemon Targaryen. Like, that's it. Don't talk to me about nothing else. I don't want to hear about nothing else. That's who I want. Bring him to me. And then she just walks away, just leaves. It's at that point that Daemon's like, well, all right, if that's what she wants, I need to figure out how to go about that. So he goes back to the trader to sort of figure out, hey, is there anybody at the Red Keep who doesn't think well of the Hightowers? And if so, maybe they are the ones to sort of give me a way in. So he's just throwing money around left and right. He's throwing money wherever he can to sort of find a back way in. And so he finds a way into the keep and he talks to two folks. He gets in from someone. We'll call them Blood. I think in the book they're called Blood and Cheese. So that's what we're going to refer to them by. We don't actually get a name here. But there's two vagabonds that are sort of living amongst the Red Keep and have been sort of put in a bad way by the Hightowers. I think if Aegon got to do what he wanted to do the way that he wants to do it, they probably would have been better off, and this probably would have never occurred. But because they have to listen to Otto, these folks feel like they're getting the raw end of the deal, and they kind of have this whole F the Hightowers thing going on. So they are willing to take any bribe and whatnot, and they see Daemon come in and like, oh, all right, cool. What's the money? Blood takes Daemon to Cheese, who's a rat catcher. Earlier in the show, we saw a point where somebody was, I think it was Helena, saying that she was nervous or in fear. And it's like, of revenge? Like, no, of these rats. Like, there's a bunch of rats in it. So that's posited there to let you know that the house has an issue with rats. Um, and that they have rat catchers coming through to sort of help out with the situation. So Damon has a conversation with these folks and kind of is like, I need you to bring me the head of Avon. And the rat catcher, Cheese, is saying, well, if we don't see Aemon, what would you like us to do? Like, what then? Well, we quickly see what the option was, and he doesn't verbally say it. We don't get to see him say it. He probably doesn't give them an answer, but he's just like, "Bring me a head of an heir. Bring me a head of a boy in this lineage, and we'll call it. I'll give you the other half of the payment." So these folks make their way through the back channels of the Red Keep, through the walls and whatnot, to take care of the rats. There's a wild sequence where they see Aegon drunk on the throne with his guards, um, and I think that shot is important because it sort of shows you that the naivete of Aegon. Like, he's saying that he's got his brother under his thumb. He can point him towards a direction. He's going to do whatever he wants to for him. But he's taking everything very lighthearted. There's not a sense of dread. He feels like, we have the upper hand. We're the winners. We're the best. There's nothing that can come into this Red Keep and disturb what it is that we have going on here. It's a lot of naivety, and it's a lot of like, he's genuinely a kind person, and he's going to remain that way until what happens here at the end. But it's interesting that he is completely sort of ignorant to any threats that may be coming on in his way, and so is the way that Lady Hightower just keeps banging and having sex with Crook Cole. It doesn't seem like she is on the up and up with what's supposed to be occurring here either. But Blood and Cheese continue on their trek. They run into a handsmaid, and kind of says, like, we're going to do the rats. But eventually they get a hold of Helena in her room, with both Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, the heirs, where the inbreeding comes, the children of Helena and Aegon, brothers, sisters. They are there, and they are asking them which one's the boy, because they look just alike. The twins, they look alike. They're like, which one's the boy? She points at one of them, and the one named Blood thought she was lying. It's like, she's never going to actually point out the boy. She's going to point to the boy or the girl and say, and not put the boy at risk. And she's like, nope, she's telling the truth. That is the boy. And then they go, and you can sort of hear in the background that they're working at sawing off the head of the boy. Whew. And then she grabs her girl and takes him out. And then she goes to the room, her mom's room, Allison's room, who was getting her back blown out by Christian Cole again, who they've said previously, this ain't happening again, but we all knew that wasn't the case. And she tells them they've killed the boy. Which, if there was ever a point in this entire series where there could have been some sort of reconciliation, you kill a baby, yeah, all bets are off. Like, this is about to get grimy. I think it's important to note, I didn't mention it, there was a sort of a reconciliation or a hug moment, a sincere moment between Rhaenyra and Jacaerys when he returned home. Because remember, this death occurred when him being gone, so he didn't even get to say goodbye to his brother either. So, and this is the first time that he's coming back home. He starts telling, like, here are our allies. This is who we have. But he can't really get through it without breaking down, and they have to have a heartfelt moment, missing their son and brother. But boy, did they get their comeback. Son for a Son is the name of this episode, and boy, do they. Again, I've not read the book, so I have no idea what was kind of coming, but to take an heir is one thing, but to take an heir of a kid is another. And I think any kindness that Aegon had before this, because you could see that at the very least, he adored that son. Like, that was his pride and joy. He would put his people down to make sure that his kid was in as good shape. And with that kid being murdered, I think the insanity wheels are about to come off on Aegon. And I think all bets are off. Aegon and Alicent. I think the wheels are about to fall off, and it's going to be bedlam from this point on. A fantastic way to start the season, I think. Again, takes a minute to sort of get back in. We introduce a couple of characters, new characters. Takes a minute to kind of get back into it, but I don't think this episode's slow at all. Sometimes Game of Thrones can be a bit slowish, but this is getting me through the moments, getting me through the paces, and has an amazing payoff. And when we only have 8 episodes as opposed to, I think, the 10 previous seasons, some of the fat that occurred in season one is going to get removed. And I think we're getting right to the meat and potatoes of everything. And there's a grimness to this episode that I think is going to just permeate throughout the rest of the season. And I'm here for it. What did you guys think about the first episode of House of the Dragon season 2 called A Son for a Son? Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have the podcast with the same name. It's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.